Hello, everyone.
Welcome to High Five Live.
We appreciate you joining us today and let us know where you're from. We are so excited to have our special guest, Lee Phillips.
Yes, Lee Phillips and his wife are some of our greatest heroes.
We actually got to meet them because they live near our son-in-law and our daughter, and they're good friends. And they had called us several times and said, "You have got to meet the Phillips." So we finally had that privilege, and now we're good friends.
At least we hope so, Lee, right?
Yeah, and now you can't get rid of us. That's the problem.
So Lee is the most amazing person, and I just want to introduce him briefly and tell you some remarkable things about him. Lee is a United States Supreme Court counselor, an attorney, has written over 17 books, lectured live to over 5,000 audiences, reached well over 1 million people plus, and in the midst of all that is just a remarkable, down-to-earth, amazing person. And his wife, not one step behind him. She is remarkable and one that has great courage to face challenges in the most unique way. So we don't want to
She's the leader.
so many other things. Lee, anything you want to say about that?
No, just that Kristy's the leader. She's not one step behind. She's one step ahead.
She was an adventurous lady, all the things that she did. So exciting and interesting. You want to say anything about who's jumping on?
Yes, let's see. We've got guests from Canada, Utah, Sweden, Virginia so far. Thank you for being with us.
Great to have you on, and
Philippines.
Please continue to tell us where you're from. So exciting. Let me give a brief introduction to Lee's story and let him add. So, beautiful couple, married when they were 19, had 3 beautiful children, and then 26 years old. Lee had heart failure and major, huge terminal cancer attack. They told him he had no chance to live, put him in an emergency care critical unit from January, February until July in critical care, and daily or consistently would say to his wife, "He just can't live." Gave him treatments that were unheard of, undone before, and because they didn't know how, gave him way too much. And somehow the miracle happened that he lived through all of that. And so grateful that he's here. And his wife handled that in an amazing way. Lee, tell us a little about how Kristy handled all that crazy, amazing, overwhelming challenge.
Something like that totally upsets your life. We farmed out the children to relatives, the 3 little kids, and Kristy would come and tend me every day. Actually, she saved my life many times because she was there all of the time and coordinated almost the medical treatment, because different doctors had come in and they didn't know what the last one did, and she could direct and figure out what happened. The problem is that the stress on the spouse that's in that situation is huge. In fact, if you have a diagnosis of cancer, your chance of divorce goes up like tenfold. It's huge. The surviving spouse or the spouse that is well just can't deal with that type of pressure. And Kristy was under such pressure that times she didn't dare drive. She had to be driven because she just couldn't think straight.
Oh, wow.
Can imagine.
So much. And somehow making it through all that. And she decided, because it took years for you to recover, really, that she did, to become an attorney yourself. And
she did.
Support and help you.
And that way we could work together.
And you have every day, every day.
We've always enjoyed working together.
That's amazing. So after her care of you and all the care that she gave you, and knowing what it's like for the surviving spouse to go through all of that, Kristy, this adventurous woman, tell us a little about her adventures, just so we can get to know her a little.
Kristy was a very adventurous woman, like you said. She actually got 2 degrees in English and history. She spoke Greek. We went around the world a number of times and did lots of things together. Kristy was a very spiritual lady, though. She would walk and talk with people from the other side, and I know that's hard to to believe, but she did so much genealogy. And as you do the genealogy, I think the veil becomes a lot thinner. And the people on the other side want their work done, and they're willing to come and talk to you if you're willing to listen. I'm too dense. I never see anybody or hear anybody or anything else. So I'm the dense one. I say I'm spiritually dense.
No, I don't think that's true. But she was an amazing, amazing, receptive woman. That's for sure.
So she's gone now. Do you want to talk about?
Well, Kristy, I guess she decided she'd get even with me. She took care of me for 3 years, and so I had to take care of her for 5 years. Kristy got a disease called ALS. A lot of you know that as Lou Gehrig's disease, and it is pretty much universally accepted in the medical profession as the worst diagnosis a human can receive.
Mm-hmm.
The disease is ugly, to say the least. The body totally dies. They call it the glass coffin disease. You could actually hold a funeral and put the person in a glass coffin, and everybody would say that they were dead, but mentally they're there 100%. So the body dies, but the mind is fine. And the care is extremely intense. We were very blessed that I could actually just independently hire nurses in 12-hour shifts for the last 3 years. And so there was always me and a nurse taking care of Kristy. If I left for any reason, we had to have 2 nurses on site. So, but she didn't stop. She kept going. She had her big wheelchair at 600 pounds. And the grandkids would run alongside of her and say, "Go P4, Grandma, go P4." and that meant they wanted her to go faster. And the wheelchair could really truck along. She continued to do her genealogy. She actually ended up doing over 250,000 index names.
Phenomenal.
And she just did the genealogy. She couldn't use her hands. They have what's called an eye gaze computer. The computer will track the pupils of your eyes, and she could do genealogy just as good as we could, a little slower, but just as good as we could. Just her head was fixed, strapped back, and she could just move her eyes, and it would do the computer. She could move the mouse around. She could do everything you can do.
That is so amazing.
And the day before she died, she found 8 new names.
Wow.
And she blessed so many lives with allowing them to do a lot of the work. I mean, we got a chance to witness this.
We did.
And to see Kristy sitting at that computer, I mean, when only your eyes work, what would you do with your life? But she continued to serve thousands and thousands of people, leaving over 1,000 names when she left that needed work done. Just amazing. In fact, it's hard for me to talk about. A little tearful. Think about her courage. And it wasn't just her. I mean, Lee's courage to make that all work, to be there with her all the time, and to be the surviving spouse this time. Lee, you're a great example of that.
Amen.
I got stuck, left behind. Just to give you an example of her adventuresome spirit, we were down at the end of Crater Lakes Road. It's on the big island of Hawaii, and it's been cut off by the lava flows. So you drive down and it's a dead end. It's way out in the national park. And we were there one night at dusk, and you could see the glow of the lava going into the ocean about a quarter of a mile away. And I turned around in the parking lot. When I turned back around, Kristy was running across the new lava flow at full tilt. And I was very upset because it was a starless, moonless night. And the lava is deadly. It's all jaggedy up and, and real sharp. And she was headed out. And finally, I started to offer people in the parking lot money for a flashlight. And I finally got a flashlight and started out after. And I caught up with her when she couldn't move anymore because it got dark and you can't see anything. The lava is black and it's all jumbled up. And I said some few words to her that probably shouldn't be repeated here. But we continued on, and we were standing about 100 feet away watching the lava flow into the ocean. And I said, Kristy, does it bother you that we're the only people here without a gas mask? And she said, nah, the wind's at our back. And the wind was always at Kristy's back. We actually went back many more times to see the lava, and we had proper flashlights and gas masks and everything else. But that's what Kristy liked to do.
Oh, yeah, she did all over.
So when was she diagnosed?
It was diagnosed, they say you never forget the date, July 22nd, 2014 in San Francisco. We had to go to San Francisco to get her diagnosed. Her good friend from high school happened to be the local neurologist, and I knew what she had, but I just don't think he could say the words.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, she was born the same year that I was born.
Oh, you're old then, huh?
Oh,
So 5 years, that period of time with that kind of care.
She was diagnosed on July 22nd, 14, and she died 9/9/19. So
it's a year.
Wow.
Hmm.
So
What
share
a legacy.
share a story or two about her wonderful work with discovering family history work.
she started the year she started law school. The church actually called her to do a special project, and she was working on the special project, and a lady would come and stand at the side of the bed every night. I couldn't see the lady. Her name was Esmahan. And the lady would simply, Esmahan would simply introduce herself and say, hi, I am Esmahan. And finally, Kristy, through a lot of research, figured out that 3 of her sons were not being sealed to her. And as soon as Kristy figured out that the sons weren't being sealed to her, Esmahan quit visiting. But Kristy would visit with hundreds of people over the years. That was in what, 1989, something like that. And she continued to do genealogy work. She did lots of other things. I mean, she went to law school. She clerked for the judges. She did everything that lawyers do, but she would always never waste her time. She would not watch the TV. She would sit and do the genealogy. And I think genealogy bites you.
It does. That spirit of Elijah. Woo!
It bites you, and you can't get away from it once you start on it.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many in that situation that would have decided there's not really much they could do. And when I watch Kristy continuing to find a way to serve, and you by her side continuing to work out the technology and the details needed so she could do that, it gave everyday purpose and meaning. And she had the courage to just press forward no matter what odds. Just
Yeah, the odds were significant. She was on a full ventilator. When COVID came along, I was a little sorry she had died because we'd given the ventilator away, and I had a really big ventilator.
You're so good.
But she was on a full ventilator. She could not speak. I found a clip of her about a year and a half before she died. And she said that the Lord had told her that she could die when she wanted to, and she did. She just said, I'm going to die, and that was it. She went to sleep. But she said that hundreds of people had come that day to visit her when we made this video. And she said that they had all asked her if she could stay and still do their genealogy. So she said, I can't die yet. I've got to do the genealogy. And about a year before she died, we did take her to the temple, and we did sealings. And Provo put us in their biggest room, and we had the ventilators there and everything for her. And the sealer was going along pretty good, and he stopped. And he said, I never do this. But I have to tell you that there are hundreds of people in this room, and they've all brought their missionaries to say hi to Kristy. So that was just some of the experiences that she had doing the genealogy. And it's so important to gather the people on the other side too. And there are so many spirits that want their work done because it frees them to apparently do things that we don't know exactly what it does for them, but it somehow frees them that they can continue and progress. And the temple ordinances that we take out on this earth are somehow a key to progressing eternally. It's amazing, and I am sure that people will come up to you throughout eternity for the next trillion years. People will come up to you and say, you actually went to the temple and took out your own endowments, and you got married in the temple, and you went to the temple personally? Do you know what a tiny percentage of the people who live on this earth will ever have that opportunity? Nearly zero.
Mm.
The fact that you can go to the temple and do your own temple work and do work for other people is something that people will just stand in awe of it throughout eternity, because you only get one shot at doing it yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you, Lee, so much for being with us. You've summarized perfectly what we wanted to feel and to say, and you represent that so much. We just love you and appreciate you and are thankful that we have this friendship.
Great.
Well, I appreciate the friendship as well.
Yeah.
You guys do a great work, and we'll give everybody, is it a high five? Is that what we're doing?
Thanks,
Thank
Lee.
you so
Thanks
much,
to everybody
Lee.
for checking in today.
Have a wonderful
And
Remember to share this.
we did this virtually. Nobody was harmed with COVID or anything.
Oh, thank you again.
And please,
And
all of you
thanks
around,
for joining us.
share this
everyone.
with others. It's a profound and wonderful message. Will help lift people and give them courage and faith. We leave that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.